What's going on, everybody, and welcome back to Vinny's Corner. I'm your host, Vinny. This is my co-host, Cove, as it says today, MNC United. What is that, Manchester?
No.
I don't know what that is. I was looking at it, and I'm like, MNC United? What does this even mean? But, I don't really know everything. So tell us, what does the MNC United stand for, Cove?
I think you know.
Well, refresh my memory, I guess, then, because I'm not sure off the top. I'm trying to think about it. I got between the strikes, MNC. I don't know. What does that mean?
Initials MNC.
Oh,
MNC.
are you? Wait, so why? Wait, why are we do? Okay, wait, your initials. What about MB?
No, C. MNC.
Okay, all right. You got me lost, bro. I'm confused right now. But you know what? These things happen sometimes. So welcome back to Vinny's Corner, everybody. Pleasure to have you guys. So just a quick update. It is 56-51, the New York Knickerbockers in Game 1 at MSG of the Eastern Conference Finals of the NBA Finals. It's almost time for that Larry O'Brien trophy. Just about, 15, 16 games, give or take, somewhere in that range left before we get to that point, which is amazing. So, guys, we got Memorial Day weekend coming up here. So I just wanted to wish everybody a happy and a safe Memorial Day, as I won't speak to you again until next week. There's not a lot of boxing going on this weekend, so I'm not even going to jump into the boxing stuff this week. And UFC is on a week off because of Memorial Day weekend, which is weird. They should actually have fights this weekend, but I get it. I do.
So yours doesn't move.
What do you mean? What doesn't move?
Your Memorial Day weekend, because
Oh no,
we have a Queen Victoria, which is May long. It's our May long. It's always correlated with May 2-4, which is your Memorial Day weekend. But ours, we had it on the 19th this year instead of the 24th this year. We moved it.
So ours is usually on the last weekend of May, right?
Yeah.
That's generally what it is. So technically, it could be, it could have been next week too, but it would have went into June. But then actual Memorial Day would have fallen in June. So actual Memorial Day is Monday, right? So Monday the 26th is Memorial Day. If it went to next week, then if it was next weekend, then Memorial Day would have fallen in June. Memorial Day is always the end of May in America. So that's where we are. So, guys, as you know, we're at that point in the season. It's May, June. So we're down to the conference finals, both in basketball and in hockey. In hockey, I believe, the Stars and Oilers are playing tonight, if I'm not mistaken, right?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. And that game's tied up 1-1. I think this is game one. Game one of the Florida and Hurricanes game. That was a bit of a. I mean, I don't know that Florida's keyed in, right? But I wasn't expecting that level of dominance.
Well, you gotta think of this one. Carolina sat for a few days. They were practicing, but they weren't fresh off of win. And Florida just came off a dominant win in Game 7, and they only had a day before they came into playing again. So these guys were fresh and hot. So sometimes you look at that theory, and when a team Dallas did the same thing. Dallas won a Game 7, then had to play 2 games later, and then they beat Winnipeg right the next day because they were extremely fresh.
Makes total sense. So let me ask you, actually, because A, you're Canadian, and B, because you brought it up. So Florida got pushed to a Game 7 by the Toronto Maple Leafs. I almost said the Florida Maple Leafs. Now we know Toronto to be a one-and-done team for a pretty long time now. A lot of people thought when they brought it to Game 7 that they were going to be able to pull it out and upset the East Coast champs and Stanley Cup champs from last season, the Florida Panthers. You've got the look on your face like, I don't know who thought that or why. That's how I felt about it.
The last time Toronto pulled out a win like that was in 2000, 25 years ago.
Okay. I'll be honest. The game sevens that went on this past weekend, both in basketball and hockey. So you had the Florida Panthers and the Toronto Maple Leafs. That was an embarrassing game for Toronto. Like,
Yeah.
I almost felt bad for Maple Leafs fans because you get your teams, your fan base, hopes up. They were, people from Toronto are thinking it's finally our time again. We're gonna make it back. And what happens? You get completely shellacked. I mean, that was bad. They didn't put points on the board until late in the game either. It was really just completely dominant by Florida.
No, I know, but for days beforehand, even before the game 5 shellacking, I had Toronto fans going, "We're just going to come back to 7 to lose it anyways." I had a lot of Toronto fans say that they were coming back to lose it in Toronto. Like a lot of fans had faith that they were going to just blow it because 25 years of game sevens where they've blown it. Like it's just history for them. History repeats itself.
It's brutal. It's definitely
It's like
brutal.
Boston. It's like Boston in Game 7. Same idea.
All right, and so now we move forward to last night, right? Game 1, Canes in Florida. The Canes just, for how sharp the Canes looked against the Capitals.
Yeah.
What was that yesterday? I mean, you're a big hockey guy.
The thing is, when it comes to Florida, it was 2 years ago. The Canes were washed out by Florida in the Eastern Conference Finals 2 years ago. So they've played each other just not even 2 seasons ago in the same position they are in right now.
And so this has been kind of a common thing, and then plus the amount of games that they play each other during the regular season, right? Mm-hmm. These teams know each other front to back, and I think that is why I was so surprised that game 1, pardon my language on air, was such an ass whooping. You know what I mean? Like, I mean, what was it, 5-2? And at no point in the game was it close. You know what I mean?
But that's the thing about Florida. I was telling you last year when we were always going, you heard me going back and forth with a bunch of guys about Florida's going to do it. Florida's going to do it. You're like, why? Florida's going to do it. Their offense, they just keep coming and coming and coming and coming. They don't have a slowdown period. When the game's over, that's when they slow down.
And excuse me, it was 3-2, not 5-2. But I feel like the game, okay, so Florida scored 2, right? Then Aho came back, put 1 on the board for them. But it was never really, it just was never really a close game, right?
No. But if you look at game 7 for the last game against Florida, they scored 1, then they scored 2, then they scored 3, and it just became momentum for them. It just, when they get that momentum, they just keep going. They don't stop. They keep shooting on the net. They keep whatever. Like at that game, I think there was 70 plus shots on net to Toronto's 40 plus shots on net.
Oh, so, no, listen, I was right. I'm sorry, I messed up. The Florida Panthers were the 3 seed and Hurricanes are the 2 seed, but it was a 5-2 game. Yeah, so it was 5-2. So it was never really a close game. They got it. They got it to 2-1, and then from 2-1 it went to 5-1, and eventually Carolina scored another goal. Now, what do you expect out of this series? Right? Do you expect a 7-game series here, or I don't think they're going to sweep, but I wouldn't be surprised with the gentleman's sweep, a 5-game series.
It could be a gentleman's sweep. It's that's why we were talking about last week, where trying to not sneeze at the same time. But I was saying it's going to be Florida versus Edmonton. It's just Florida's just so dominant. They are just so like you can't get under their skin, you can't get past them. They just keep coming and they keep flooding you. Their first line, their second line, their third line, their fourth line. Every line is just they all know each other. They know how to play this. They'll lose a game or two, but the thing is the next day game they come back, and then Bobrovsky just gets composure, and then Bobrovsky just doesn't let anything go past him.
He had 31 saves in that game. I mean, that's 30 plus saves in a game. I mean, you already know what that is. Like that's serious. That's serious goaltending right there. So and Florida took right. So Carolina took 33 shots. Florida only took, and this is a wild number. Florida only took 20 shots and they scored 5 times. So they scored on 25% of their shots. Like that's, to me, that's like, I hear that and I'm like, oh my goodness. Realistically, Anderson with a .75 saved average in game 1 of the Eastern Conference Finals. That just that's abysmal, man. That's about as bad as it gets, and like,
not going to say it like this, but Frederick Anderson was an ex-Maple Leaf.
Okay. And
so he's been there before.
That's funny. So here's what I thought was pretty interesting also about this game. It wasn't like it was like just for Hagee. Reinhart didn't score anything, Kachuk didn't have any goals, but it was spread all over the ice. Like 5 different people scored in that game. You know what I mean?
That's what I'm saying about Florida. It's you can't just focus on 1, 2, or 3 guys. Everybody can score. Everybody can get the hands on the puck. Everybody can pass. Everybody can shoot. It's just you have a consistency on that team that everybody can score in that game. So you're worried from every angle.
And that's what it looked like. And then, of course, when you're going up against Prime Bobrovsky, he's got like one of the most famous saves of all time, right? The Bobbery, as we call it, right?
Yeah.
So, I don't know. I wouldn't be surprised if this series finished 4-1. I wouldn't. The Panthers just looked dynamite in game 1. So now you got in the Western side of things, and we've seen this matchup before too. We got Dallas and the Oilers. That game's tied at 1-1 right now. What do you think about this series? This is the series I feel like goes to a 7-game series.
I feel like this is going to be a 4-2 series for Edmonton.
The way that Edmonton played against the Las Vegas, Golden Knights, my squad, I wouldn't be surprised. Dallas has gone through a lot of tough hockey to get to this point, right? They've played a lot of games.
Two game 7s already.
So that's going to be really tough on them. I don't know that Ottinger is going to be able to hold up against something like that, but we're going to see. Skinner had the luxury of kind of a nice, quick series against the Golden Knights. They punished the Golden Knights, really. No other way to say it. And so,
we were saying it last week. You got Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl, who have over 250 points combined in the playoffs. Just those 2 guys alone are just magic together. So it's like it's basically like a Gretzky Messier kind of mess up in the playoffs. It's just these guys are just boom, boom, boom. They're fast, they're quick, they can set things up. It's just like you can't slow them down, you can't stop them. But if you keep Draisaitl off the points and you keep McDavid off the points, then Dallas has a real good shot.
Well, sorry to burst your bubble, Dallas, but Leon Draisaitl scored the first goal for the Oilers. So that's not going to happen. He's already lighting the lamp. So that's a pretty tough one. You and I are pretty, like some of the stuff that we said was going to happen has gone a little left. Some of it's been spot on. I think you had the Panthers coming all the way through. So, I'm not really surprised by that on your side. I really thought the Caps would do better. They were a lame duck against the Canes, if I'm being perfectly honest. Dallas, both of us picked Dallas to come out of the West And like you said, I just don't see them getting through this series against a really tough, really dominant
But I mean,
Oilers.
I had Dallas against another team. Dallas Edmonton makes it a lot harder, and Edmonton can if Edmonton get ahead of the series, then Edmonton's going to take the series.
Yeah, it's really hard to argue with you there. It would be nice to see Dallas pull off this game one win, right? So end of the first period, they're tied 1-1. Right now, it feels like we're going to get the Oilers against the Panthers in the Stanley Cup, right? What do you think? Oilers, Panthers, Stanley Cup is the prediction at this point?
That's the early prediction I have for it right now. We'll see how game 2, game 3 seems to be the deciding factor. A lot of people say it's game 5, but it's game 2, game 3. Because if the Panthers go up 2-0 and then take game 3, Panthers are going to go through. Same thing as Edmonton. So really, it's game 2, game 3, depending on how that goes. If it's a 2-1 series, it's close. But if it's a 2-0 series and they have a chance to take a 3-0, and that they always say the 3-0 is the lead you don't want to go up against because no one ever comes back from 3-0. So it puts a lot of pressure on teams, and that's what happens. It's just like so if Edmonton and say Florida go up 2-0 both times, that puts pressure in game 3, and Panthers and Edmonton have when they'll take a game, they can take a game and then come back and win the next two, and they're both done in 5.
So Oilers. Okay, so let's just play it out. Oilers, Panthers. Do you think we're about to see like full on dynasty status? Panthers win a second Stanley Cup, after their 4th year in a row going to the Eastern Conference Finals. I mean,
Third year in a row. Third year in a row. Yeah.
So what do you think? You think this is the Panthers' year?
They talked about that with Tampa. The same thing. Tampa went to 3 straight Eastern Conference Finals, only got 1 cup. So they were talking dynasty. If we talk dynasty, you're only going to really like staple that against the Florida Panthers. That's why this year they're not saying dynasty as much because they want to see them win. And just to throw it off like to football for a second on there, KC. They kept talking about how KC they were going to win this game. They're going to be a dynasty. Didn't happen. If we talk about a dynasty before it happens, it never usually happens. The 18-0 Patriots they lost against the Giants because they kept talking about how they're going to win it. You talk about dynasties after.
But okay, to be fair, 5 years in a row, the Chiefs went to the Super Bowl, right? They won 3 of those 5. They lost 1 to the Eagles. They lost 1 to the Bucs. So really, I'm not good like the Chiefs, and I don't want to go too far into the football rabbit hole because I'll talk football forever.
No, but they didn't start talking dynasty until like 5 straight AFC championships. We're only talking about 3. So we need 5 before we really talk about dynasties.
The Chiefs are a dynasty, but they may be finished. Their dynastic run may be done. Now, that being said, they've got Pat Mahomes, so they could do this again. It could definitely happen again.
But that's what I'm saying. A 3-year run has been done multiple times by multiple teams. But if you get 4, 5, 6, then that's when you get dynasty talk because it's 4 or 5 or 6 years in a row. So if Pacers come back next year and go into the Eastern Conference Finals, we could start talking dynasty.
So real quick, since we did just throw the football thing out there and we're going to jump right back to hockey and basketball, I just wanted to say that the longtime Colts owner and CEO, Jim Irsay, died today at age 65. So, prayers to the Irsay family. That's, it's terrible news when people die.
Terrible news, and I'll put a bad spin on it. Terrible news, but great for the quarterbacks.
Listen,
I had to say it. I know it's bad to say it like that, but
it's hard to argue. It's hard to argue, but really, what that comes down to, that's coaching and the GM. I think really, and we'll get into that at a whole nother time for sure. But I just want to throw that out. So. Final predictions on the NHL side of things. You got the Panthers, Oilers, you think?
Yeah.
I'm in agreement with that, and I do think it's you know what, it's hard to say. The Panthers, I think, can pull it off, but it's just really tough because this Oilers team is nasty, man. Like they've really been kicking some behind in this
Yeah.
playoff.
And
So
that's gonna be a hell of a playoff series. Just saying, because it'll be a revenge of not that back to back Oilers, Panthers, and that went 7 last year. So we're looking for an epic series coming up with if it's Panthers Oilers again.
honestly, I think it would be really exciting to see that happen again because last year's Stanley Cup was awesome. The Stanley Cup final. So I would have no problem with that. It would be cool. I would prefer to see Dallas against the Panthers, but I do think it's going to be the Oilers and the Panthers in a repeat year. And I'm going with the Panthers to repeat and start their dynasty run. That's me. Who do you take, Oilers or Panthers? Who's your final call on that?
I feel if the Edmonton can get in there and if Carolina can beat up on the Panthers, Edmonton might snap the long streak. Now I'm gonna go back to 08, 09. Detroit versus Pittsburgh happened. Detroit got one, Pittsburgh got another. I feel like if this is gonna be one of those back to back playoffs where in the finals where it's back to back teams, it could be a one off for both teams.
Cool. All right. That's fair. So now moving on to the NBA. As you guys know, my New York Knicks are playing. Before we jump to that, I do want to give a shout out. Shea Gilgeous-Alexander, SGA, is the crowned MVP for the 2024-25 season. And he completely earned it. He's played tremendous basketball. And if you've been watching him in this playoffs, it's actually been unreal. He dropped 30-plus points again last night. He's been doing it pretty consistently across the board this playoff. Game 1 of the Western Conference Finals, I don't know if Cove's still there, but game 1 of the Western Conference Finals we had last night. And that was, there's no other way to say it. The first half, the Timberwolves looked good, and I picked the Timberwolves to win this series. I did. I wanted to see Ant-Man take it all the way. I wanted to see Ant-Man against my New York Knickerbockers in the finals. But after watching, and just to put this out there, OKC has been like a complete team all season. Their defense is just tremendous. Whether it's Hartenstein, whether it's Holmgren, they've got so many guys. Williams, more. It doesn't matter. It doesn't have to be SGA, but their leader, SGA, really stepped up in a big way last night. They were down by 4, I think, going into the half, and they outscored the Minnesota Timberwolves 70-40 in the second half. They blew them out of the water in the second half. It was bad.
Now I know the Knicks have won in 73, but for both of us, this will be the first time we will legit see one of these teams win a championship, though.
Any of them, right? So OKC, their former organization, or in their former city of Seattle, they did win a title. As Oklahoma City, they've never won a championship. And now this is actually the third MVP. The first 2 MVPs there actually played together, Russell Westbrook and Kevin Durant, and they were never able to lead that team to a title. So it'll be interesting to see if SGA can. I've been talking smack about these guys all season long. They're too young. I got to see them do it in the playoffs. But the way they finished the Denver Nuggets series, they completely destroyed them in Game 7. Every time Jokic touched the ball, he had 6 hands on him at the same time. It was a tremendous performance, and SGA had an MVP performance in that game against arguably the greatest player in the world in Nikola Jokic. And then to come out Game 1 and just bring it, they just completely brought it to the Timberwolves, especially in that second half. It's hard for me to see anyone besides OKC representing the West in the finals. And you know what? I don't even think this is going to be a long series. I'll be honest. I kind of feel like from what I saw last night, I do think Minnesota will get a game, but I wouldn't be surprised if, again, we saw the gentleman's sweep in the OKC Timberwolves series. And maybe it's just not quite Ant-Man's year yet. Maybe he needs another year or two. But he only took 13 shots last night. Like you can't have your star and your leader. This guy is all over commercials. He's all over TV. He doesn't back down from anybody. You can't only have 13 shots, right? Julius Randle held the team down last night. Former Knick. I'm not surprised by that. He wasn't quite able to do it for us, but good for him that he's doing his thing there. Now the East Coast, the Eastern Conference Finals begin tonight. Coming out of the first half, the Knicks are up 69-62. This looks like it's going to be a fairly high-scoring game here. Karl-Anthony Towns is looking awesome so far. He's got 15 points already. But leading the way for the Pacers, Tyrese Halliburton, the guy who was voted by his peers, by other NBA players, he was voted the most overrated basketball player in the league. He's been a nail in the coffin against his opponents. He's been a great leader and facilitator, and he's played awesome basketball. He's already got 14 points on the game. So it's a close one. Sometimes the Knicks let me down in the third quarter. We played amazing in the third quarters against Boston. We're going to need to see more of that tonight if we're going to look to keep this lead and get game one. Now, for those of you who don't know this, Cove is a Knicks hater. That's right, he is. And you know what? With due respect to the reason for it, right? You guys see the way that Knicks fans were celebrating on 7th Avenue after every game? Like every game was the title. I love it personally because I'm a New York guy, but I see how fans from other places are like, the heck with these guys, right? So I'm not surprised by that. Hopefully we're going to be able to pull out this game. Now, what do you think about the Knicks Pacers series? How do you think it's going to go?
I feel like it's going to be Indy 4-2, but all the Knicks fans are going to hate me on that one. Because
what I tell you guys, he's a Knicks hater. I got the Knicks orange as our color tonight on here. He still picked the Pacers. Don't worry. All my boys picked the Pacers that are not from New York. And I'm not surprised. But now you brought up a good point. I think this is a really exciting year for basketball in general, right? So the Knicks won last 52 years ago. I was not around for it. I've never seen them in my lifetime win. Nobody from OKC has seen their team win. Nobody from Minnesota has seen it, right? And nobody from Indiana has seen it. So this is going to be this is going to be the 7th different champion in 7 years, which is amazing. And this could be a champion who's never won before or one who's not won in the last 50 years. So, obviously my finals, I was taking the Timberwolves after game one. I have a really hard time saying that OKC is going to lose. So, I'm going to stick with my Knicks, of course. And I think it's going to be the Knicks against OKC, which that is not light work. So, we're going to see how that goes, right? Going to be a tough one. But the third quarter did just start. Hopefully we'll be done here before the fourth quarter so I can start yelling at my TV at appropriate volume because I'm going to have to. You know that. But bing bong, Knicks, let's go. You already know the deal. You know the situation.
But I'll say it now. If you guys take game one and your fans start chanting the finals, you guys are going to choke.
So, okay, now.
As if your fans can just think about Indy. That's what I'm saying. I will give it to the Knicks if the Knicks think about the Indy for the entire series and worry about who they play when they play in the finals. But if your fans bring that into Madison Square Garden that they think they're going to go to the finals and win this all, you're going to put a bad vibe in that arena, and it's going to affect the Knicks.
I don't listen. I just if you've been watching this playoff run so far. Every time the Knicks win, 7th Avenue is getting flooded. New York fans are going bananas.
No. This year, I'll say this year, they get flooded and they talk about the win, but they're not talking about who they're playing next.
Okay, that's fair. That's fair. And we do still have a job to do. I don't think this is okay. So today, and this blew my mind. I was listening to First Take, right? Everybody listens to First Take, right? ESPN Radio. Yes, it's on TV too, obviously. I listen to it while I'm driving. But Big Perk, Kendrick Perkins, former OKC Thunder, former Boston Celtic. He picked the Knicks to win in 5. I was like, whoa. Like, I think the best team in the playoffs, if I'm being honest, has been the Pacers. So I don't think this is going to be an easy series. I just want to see us get out of game 1 with a W, maybe get out of New York with 2, if we could take game 1 and game 2 and go to Indiana with a sturdy lead, I'd feel great about that. Because every time I wake up on a Knicks game morning, I wake up completely stressed out. I'm like, oh my God, it's game day. Like, I don't like you probably noticed I don't really put like Knicks posts on my timeline. For me, it's like bad juju. Once I stop posting about the Knicks, they win games. So I don't do it, I got to go with my superstition on that, but I got my Knicks going for it. I think it's going to be the Knicks in 6. Halliburton is killing it right now, man. Guy just keeps scoring points. He's dangerous. So it's 71-64. Knicks are still up, which is a good thing. We need to do well in this third quarter. The third quarter to me is the key to our wins. We have strong third quarters. We finish the game like champions. So that's just my thought on that. Now, today was a big day in baseball. A lot of early games today, right? So for those people who missed today's baseball, let's check out the scores real quick here. So the Yankees are actually my Yankees. They're my Yankees, obviously. I say that, right? But we're down 3-2 right now to the Rangers in the 8th. The Mets are cooking the Red Sox today. It's the top of the 9th. It's 5-1. Padres are down 7-0. Padres down 7-0 to the Blue Jays. Whoa. Wasn't expecting that. The Phillies are beating the Rockies. Kind of expect that, right? The Twins beat the Guardians today. The Twins have looked pretty good this season, right?
So they won 13 of the last 14 games to come back into a 500. Like, it's insane.
Yeah, they're 27-21 now. They're one of the top teams out there in our side of the world, in the AL. So I just thought about this because I'm seeing the Pirates and the Reds. The Pirates won 3-1. There was some talk about what would the Pirates trade Skeens, and the Pirates ownership came out and they said absolutely not. Under no circumstances.
If you trade Paul Skeens, I mean, you can get a whole bucket full for him. But if that Pirates organization trades Paul Skeens, you might as well sell that damn team. You might as well.
He's been unbelievable. Like, when every other pitcher is pitching 5, maybe 6 innings, Skeens is coming out trying to pitch full games.
He's going to bring talent to that organization. He's going to bring people in that want to play there. So if you trade him, it's not like he's like a Mike Trout kind of thing, but it's like a Mike Trout-esque. He's going to bring talent to there.
I believe it.
So you can't get rid of him.
I absolutely believe it, man. There's no question about that. So they did win 3-1. Now you got the Marlins. The Marlins dropped the ball against the Cubs. That's not really a surprise. The Marlins have 19 wins, 29 losses on the season, and the Cubbies are a pretty good team this year. They're 30-20 as it stands right now. The Rays beat the Astros. The Orioles pulled out a game. The Orioles, the Orioles have been abysmal. They have 16 wins on the season. I was not expecting to see
their rotation is just roasting them. Their rotation is killing them. That's
terrible, right? They're definitely one of the worst out there. The Tigers now have the best record through 50 games, right? They're 33-17. They won 5-1 today. No surprise here. The Mariners beat the White Sox 6-5. The Royals beat the Giants. That's a pretty good win for the Royals, 8-4. And it looks like I guess the Guardians and the Twins had a doubleheader today.
Yeah.
The Guardians won the first one 5-1. They lost the second. Now, usually around this time, we jump into some questions that we have specifically around baseball, right? And so let's take a look at what we got here. Now, what do you think about this? Do you see Shohei right? Okay, so we know Shohei hasn't pitched yet. Allegedly, he's coming back, June, July? He hasn't pitched since August 2023. Do you think he's the clear favorite right now for the NL MVP?
He could be, but also we'll have to see by then to how he plays. Because if he stays in the same pace he's got, yeah, he'd be a clear MVP. But he could salter it off a little bit, and like Kyle Schwarber, there's a couple other guys that could just pick up there. Like I can't think of his name at the moment, but the guy from the Padres who always loves to be able to hit over 300.
Tatis?
What? No, not
Tatis?
Tatis. No, not Tatis. Somebody else.
Machado?
What?
Machado?
No. He's the guy who basically knocked out Shohei from winning the Crown last year. He had the top average. Forget what his name is.
Wow.
Not Abreu, but oh my god, I can't think of his name.
Dude, you got me. Now I'm like, wait,
Herrera? No. Is it Herrera?
You got me stumped for
okay.
a second here. Hold
yeah,
on,
I'm trying to think. He was the batting average leader last year.
Arias.
Yes, Arias.
Yeah. I'm like, wait, I don't know why that was stumping me.
The fact that this guy's been on 3 different teams and he's dominated the batting average the last 3 years. I can see him staying with San Diego and possibly winning the MVP this way.
So,
but my clear favorite to him is if he's healthy would be Mookie Betts. Like Mookie Betts, I feel like he could be an MVP too.
Freddie Freeman is batting like 375. No, 371. Yeah. 371. Freddie Freeman.
Well, that's the thing about the Dodgers. You got Freeman, you got Betts, you got Shohei, you got multiple guys who can win an MVP on that team.
You saw they just reactivated Teoscar Hernandez last night too.
Yeah.
So, they just keep getting better. Now, to Kyle Schwarber's been on a bit of a heater. He's been cranking homers recently.
Yeah.
His batting average is still down in the dumps, though. So
he
now,
has to pick that up.
Schwarber, he's batting just over 250. So, I don't know about that, but we'll see what happens there, right? In the AL, right? So on the AL side of things, I think that's really where I'm like, I guess obviously I'm focused there. I'm a Yankees fan, right? Can Aaron Judge,
because Judge he's got a triple crown going right now. Like he's leading every statistical stat in the AL. Judge owns, so nobody's touching him right yet.
He's got 73 hits. The next closest person has 11 less hits than he does. 43 RBIs. He's got 16 homers. He's batting .403. Do you think he can keep this pace and actually challenge that 400 batting average for the season?
He could, but I feel like he'll dip a little bit. I think the 400 is extremely hard to maintain. That's one of the hardest things to maintain is a 400.
I mean,
everything else statistically he can maintain, but a 400 is hard.
It's honestly, it's ridiculous. I don't, that's probably the only way I can say it. It's literally ridiculous. Right now,
it's more ridiculous if he hits a 400 and gets a triple crown and then still doesn't win the series.
So so that's right. I was talking with some people about this, right? And remember, I was saying it last week. He could one day be looked at with the way he's played this last few seasons. He could be looked at as the greatest righty hitter of all time one day. But if he doesn't, right? He took the captain. The last person to be our captain is Derek Jeter, right? So for him to be looked at and revered at that level, he has to lead this team to a World Series title.
Yeah.
You know, and I think one of the huge pieces and what's really kind of helped out, obviously his batting has been phenomenal, but with Cole going out injured to start the season, Max Fried has just been playing out of his mind. He's definitely the favorite for the Cy Young right now in the AL, and I love that.
Yeah.
I don't know, I don't know. I guess we're going to see what happens, right? But it would be amazing to see him challenge Ted Williams' record, right? It's stood since 1941. I guess we're going to see what happens. So Seiya Suzuki is emerging as a top-tier offensive player in the National League this year. 43 ribbies this year. He's on pace for a career high, or to pass his career high, 74. He's been super consistent. He's been key for the Cubs this season.
But that's only if the Cubs stay. If the Cubs fall apart, he won't. I can't see him not hitting 74 because the way he's at now right now, but it's gonna slow him down. If the Cubs if nobody goes on base, where is he gonna get his ribbies from? Right? Like that's the thing is if the Cubs stay high offense, getting on base and giving him potential, yeah, it's very possible to hit over 75 RBIs.
Here's the thing. He needs to get more hits in general.
Yes, that too.
I think that like he's playing really well. He's definitely having a marquee season for himself. I could see him breaking through 75 RBIs on the season for sure. And I think that it's a huge help to that Cubs offense. I don't, this is the thing, right? It's the Cubs. So even a 30-20 Cubs, I'm like, I haven't bought into them yet. Do you think that this team's legit, or do you think they're going to have a dip?
They're going to have a dip. Even last year, we'll just go last year. We're not the Phillies by game 50, the best team in the league, and what happened to them last year? They dipped out. So, just because you have that record, it's hard to maintain. There's only a few teams that have been able to have that momentum and stay with that momentum. Like LA has done it. Seattle has done it way back in 01. The Yankees have done it. There's a few teams that have been able to maintain it, but I can't see the Cubs. Like, I'll say I'll give them 92 wins for sure this year for the Cubs. If the way they're playing right now, I can give them 92. But a lot of people would say this team's going to be a 100-win team, but that's a stretch. 92 is a good number. 102, that would be a stretch.
Okay. That makes sense. That does make sense. I'm not sure how I see this team finishing out. I mean, they look great so far, right? It's very hard to talk bad about a Cubs team, who's 30-20 through 50 games. You know what I mean? Like it's a tough place to. You sound foot and mouth, I guess would be the term if you try and say something like that, right? So I don't know.
I would give the Tigers a better chance of hitting 100 wins before I ever give it to the Cubs right now.
Well, the Tigers are at a blistering pace right now, right? Right now they're on pace for 65, 66 wins through 100 games, which if they can do 65 games out of that 100, there's no reason to think that they won't break 100 games if they have that kind of pace going that far into the season, right? So, now power and speed, right? So the fantastic and he's very electric, I guess would be the term. Ellie De La Cruz, right? Is this guy redefining what we see as like kind of a power and speed player? What do you think about him so far this season?
I would say yeah, but he also is a tall guy too. Like but his speed's unmatched. Like 14 seconds from home to home. Like, come on now. Like Ichiro didn't even run that fast, and Ichiro was fast.
He's for me, I feel like he's good, right? Once he's on base, he's a huge threat to steal, obviously. I'm curious to how many stolen bases he has this season so far.
But it's going to be hard to get free. It's because the pitch clock. We've been talking about this pitch clock. It gives people a better chance to steal because they know when the rotation is. They only have 15 seconds to be able to throw that ball, so it makes it easier to steal for this. But I still don't see out more than 100 stolen bases this year. I don't see a Ricky Henderson kind of year where he breaks 100 stolen bases.
No, I mean, listen, right now, he's on pace to maybe do less than he did last year. He's got 16 on the season so far.
Yeah.
Last year, he finished with 67. So through 50 games, he's only got 16. That might be like 60 stolen bases. So he could definitely do better. His batting average is kind of low, but he does produce. Don't get me wrong. He's got 33 RBIs. He's got 8 home runs. I like him more defensively than I do offensively at this point. Yeah. But I think, it's going to be interesting to see if he kind of gets hot this season or where he goes with it. Now, I think this is a great question here that you came up with. And I like this because it highlights arguably the best team in baseball right now. The Detroit Tigers coming out of the AL Central. Are they legit contenders? Not just for the Central, because I know you had that, but are they legit contenders to win the AL? What do you think?
Oh yeah, they with the way that their team has been built, and they've had one of the best, if not the best, minor league system to call up to the White Sox. The White Sox have been abysmal the last 2 years, but the White Sox and the Tigers have had the best minor league system in the AL for a while, and it's starting to show. And then that's just why this team is on top. They're young, they're fast, they're quick. They got a great minor league system that they can pull up. They can take, if a guy's getting slow, he can go down, another can come up. That is just as good. And so this is the team like I think I said it like 2 seasons ago. Give Tigers 2 to 5 years, and they'll be a dominant team again. And this is year 3, and they are dominant because that minor league system.
Listen, let me listen to this right now. Right, Riley Green. Let's see, Zach McKinstry, Javier Baez, Gleyber Torres. Let's see who else they got here. Dylan Dingler. All batting over 280 right now.
Yeah.
So these guys are putting the ball in play, and they're not like a bunch of home run hitters. They're just putting the ball in play, and they're getting to work. We talked about Riley Green last year, and actually one of the writers for We Like Sports did an article about the Detroit Tigers, and he was highlighting Riley Green and discussing how dangerous this guy could be, and he's been awesome so far this season. No doubt about it. No doubt about it. He's got 12 homers on the season, which is awesome. Torkelson's got 39 RBIs, which is pretty mean too. So the team as a whole is playing really well. It's not like it's like one or two guys.
This team from 1 to 9 on paper is one of the best constructed teams in the league right now.
Absolutely. I mean, you saw, I just read off 6 out of 9 names are hitting over 280. Like, when you have that many people that are around a 300, a 300 hitter, like, that's not bad,
No, in your time. Remember the 97, 98, 99, 2000 Yankees?
That's a fact.
Where did they have anybody that was a 30 home run hitter, a 20 home run hitter? No. They were all consistent.
Small ball,
Yeah.
Real baseball. And then, right? So everyone, we all know about Tariq Skubal, right? And what kind of a pitcher he is. He's having a pretty good season. Nothing crazy at this point. But Casey Mize has really stepped up this season so far. He's 6-1, and Jackson Jobe's 4-0.
Yeah.
So they're getting really good pitching. You know what I mean? Really, and Will Vest is 4-0 for them too on the season. they've got a lot of guys coming in that rotation that are really doing damage.
Well, no, that's what I'm saying. We've talked about this before. You look at the rotation; some of them have one or two key starters, and you just named four out of five on Tigers that are key starters.
Yeah, dude,
So,
they're in
when
a
you have
really good place.
four out of your starting five are key starters, yeah, it's gonna happen.
They're in
gonna
a
win
really good
games.
place at this point, no question about it. So, what do you think going into the right? And I know we're still a little bit away from it, but we're approaching summertime. Obviously we got Memorial Day weekend coming up, so there's always a bunch of baseball. What do you think? Who's going to be the leader of the AL going into the All-Star break?
If not Detroit, if not Detroit, and I'm not going to be a New York hater this time. It will be New York.
It's
If it's not Detroit, I feel like it'll be the Yankees.
Okay, and what do you think about the NL? Are we expecting more Dodgers, or is someone else from the NL West potentially gonna have that by mid season? What do you think?
Well, the Dodgers don't really have a dominant lead in the NL right now, but it's going to be between the Dodgers and the Mets. If the Dodgers and the Mets don't slow down, it's going to be one of those two teams.
I'm glad you brought them up, and that's the perfect place to finish off. The Mets. So last week, I was saying that in my power rankings, the Mets were probably the number one team. Yeah. As soon as I said that, they went ahead and lost the series to my Yankees, the Subway Series, as they should. And then, they dropped the first game to the Boston Red Sox yesterday. I think they still have the lead. They might have won that game already. I haven't had a chance to take a look. I'm about to click up right now and see what's going on.
But speaking of that,
they won
from last weekend, how you said the Yankees took care of the Mets last weekend. We're not talking about how the Angels swept the Dodgers.
Dude, that was actually So a lot of Dodgers fans that I'm buddies with were pissed. We're really pissed. Like, couldn't believe it. Calling for Robert's head. Like, and the guy just led you to a World Series, so that's probably not going to happen. But right now they're 30-19, right? So they're not the number one team in the West. The number one team not in the West, in the National League. In the National League, the number one team is the Philadelphia Phillies. They're 30-18.
Yeah, so the Phillies are coming up.
I would love to see the Phillies and the Yankees in a World Series, and obviously the Yankees win. We'll see what happens. But listen, guys, that's all we got for you this week on Vinny's Corner, as usual. Thank you for tuning in with myself and Cove here, MNC United. Cove, so I know last week was a little hectic with the between the strikes. What's going on this week? You guys got anything working?
Well, I'm gonna start doing like a solo thing for myself because the constricting schedule, guys. So I'll probably put out what it is once a week. I'm gonna put out like my thoughts on rankings on who's top AL, who's top NL, kind of thing, and then we're gonna try to do a show on Saturday night.
Okay, cool. So guys, check out Cove Show Between the Strikes. Baseball is the focus, if you couldn't tell. And of course, have a wonderful Memorial Day weekend. Go Knicks. And we'll see you guys next week back here in Vinny's Corner. Appreciate your time. And stream.